All right. Thank you. I'd like to call the Thursday, December 7th meeting, workshop meeting of Borough Council to order. Proceed with the pledge. Rob, I'm going to go pledge.
Where's the flag?
Where's the
multi-purpose room.
Okay. So
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's in the
It's in the other room.
We're facing,
We're facing the door.
facing the, where it would be.
I don't know. Somebody had a flag pin once.
Her stand.
Okay. Can we get a roll call?
Sure, President Bush.
Here.
Vice President Rickards.
Here.
Member Burek.
Here.
Member Fortner.
Here.
Member McGreevy.
Here.
Member Sal Manson.
Here.
Member Winston.
Here.
Mayor Deutsch.
Here.
Okay.
Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? All right, my comments, just wish to thank our interim borough manager once again for leading us through the budget process, which is always a big challenge, and which he managed on very short notice. So thank you very much. Mayor, your comments?
A few tonight. I want to wish those members who are celebrating Hanukkah, it's a celebration of lights, a very happy and warm and peaceful holiday. There will be a public menorah lighting on Monday at 6 p.m. Everybody is invited to join and take part in the lighting. It's not sponsored by any particular group this year. A member of our community has stepped up. So
And where is that going to be?
it's going to be at Station Circle, 6 p.m. on Monday. Tomorrow night there is a night market for, I'm sorry, the Dickens Festival was canceled, and as a kind of a backup prize, we have a night market tomorrow night from 6 to 9 p.m. and folks are invited to go to Station Circle and do some shopping, and listen to songs, and support the vendors that are there and some local businesses that are open. And in that vein, I would also like to encourage folks to do all their holiday shopping in Auburn, because supporting our local businesses is a wonderful endeavor, because they're folks that support us all year round. So let's show them a little love, when we're taking care of others. And finally, I want to wish our Borough Council President a very happy birthday tonight. Tonight is his birthday, and he's spending it with us.
Appreciate it.
And that's it.
I will note that, yes, this should be a fairly short meeting. So.
Oh, good. Happy birthday.
All right, thank you.
What's the over-under again?
I bought a soda, so.
I brought one too.
Let's now move on to public comment. So, as always, public comment is limited to 3 minutes. And if you could start out by giving your name and address, then I'll start the time. So, anybody in the room, let's start on that.
Yes, so my name is Kristen Copeland. I live at 119 Marion Avenue, where there is the installation of a new EV charging station, and we just came to speak in support of the charging station, that it actually, we have no driveway and no way, and I actually got a new job and I couldn't use the regional rail anymore. So I really wanted to get an EV, and actually it allowed me to get an EV, the one on Essex. But the thing that I think the borough has forgotten to mention to people when they're selling this is that actually it's a level 2 charger. And when you charge it, it takes like 5 hours. So the people charging it, like, I think our neighbors are nervous about what does this mean about like strangers coming in front of my house and taking up my parking space. It's gonna be your neighbors. Like, you don't like charge your electric vehicle and then walk I mean, it's like it's a commitment. So we actually walk for that, and I think people forget that. So it's like they're nervous that like it's going to bring people they don't know into the neighborhood. So it's actually going to bring your neighbors, and it's going to allow your neighbors to have electric vehicles. So it's allowed us to, and it's allowed me to expand my work, and it's been really great. And it isn't turned on yet on 119 Meriden, so we hope it's turned on soon because I'm walking, you know, in 30-degree weather for the charger. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been tough trying to get Pico to come out. We've done everything on our end, but we're just waiting for Pico.
Yeah.
So I'll try following up again with them and see
Yeah.
what the status is.
And it hasn't affected parking negatively at all. So I think people also worry about that.
Thank you.
Just second what she says, just wanted to come in and enter in the public record our full-throated support of the station and it's, you know, I think it's a
Like
great,
our family.
yeah, it's a great incentive, you know, in both the immediate sense and the larger sense of trying to promote, encourage people to buy electric vehicles and everything.
If you could give your name as well.
Sure, my name is Josh Perry, also at 119 Marion Ave.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there any public comment?
Hi, Jeremy Pooler, 107 Iona Avenue. Just kind of as a follow-up from the last meeting regarding the EIT. I know the understanding was, well, we didn't quite know where exactly the funds were coming in. We had an idea of dollars from Berkheimer, but in terms of understanding who in the borough is actually paying it, percentage of people. Matt, I believe you were going to reach out to Berkheimer, see if they had any sort of report that they could, you know, that legally they could share with you that would give you an idea of percentages of who in fact is affected.
Yeah.
So if you've got anything back or you have the updates.
I have not yet.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Council's interested in that information as well, so once it comes in, do let us know.
Do you have John's?
Yeah, if anybody online wishes to make, somebody's trying to
John's
get in.
it looks like he's waiting to get in.
Okay.
He keeps like entering, going out, so I don't know if he's having technical
Kicked
issues.
off.
Yeah.
If anybody online wishes to make a comment, please raise your hand. Use the raise hand feature, or do you have a visual one? Alan, can you tell?
They should be able to speak. Carol Marie or Amy?
Both of them have their hands raised.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go with Carol Marie then, so I see her first on my screen.
Hello, so I have a question. I'd like to know if the RFP for 201 Sabine has been sent out to any organization.
No, it hasn't.
And have there been any developers expressing interest in developing 201?
No.
And is there an actual plan for the 201 property in the works, either on paper, in discussion between, say, the Planning Commission, Parks, council members, or the borough office?
Why don't you make the rest of your comment and I'll respond after.
Because the bottom line is, how can you attempt to develop any portion of 201 Sabine property without a full site plan?
I can tell you that all of the documents that council's been working with are online on the borough's website. You can see what's there. That's what council's been working with, and there's been no change to any of those documents since they've been posted, I believe.
When is it being sent out for the RFP then? The November 9th Parks Plan had a drastic change of direction. The month beforehand, they were saying, yes, Sabine Park was in the Parks Plan. It was great. It was wonderful. And then at the last meeting, you all said that, nope, it's gone. So what was the major change of plan?
That was at the recommendation of the state agency that is overseeing the park planning process. They recommended that change, which we went with. There is no date as of now for the RFP to be sent out. It has not been.
But the question is, how can you even make a plan without to stop Sabine Park because it is a park? How can you make any plan without a full site park plan? How can you decide to develop that part of the park on Montgomery Avenue without a full site plan?
We're not going to stop the park in any way, Carol Marie. We're going to expand the park. That is the goal of council, as expressed many, many times here.
But that's only on paper. Where is it going to be? Is it going to be at the park? If you develop that park, there's no park anymore until you tear down the school, make the full site plan. You can't get rid of the park. You have no plan. You say, oh yes, we have a resolution, there's going to be a park, but there's no plan for the park. Once you develop the park, it's gone.
You got 3 minutes.
Not quite, but once again, I'd ask you to look at the documents that we have posted, which show the expanded park space that we have in mind. Some of those include graphics, showing where we would be looking at potential development and where the park would be expanded. And your 3 minutes are up now.
Well, actually, my last meeting, you cut me short by 15 seconds. So I'd like to use that now and just say that EV stager.
I apologize. That's not how it works, Carol Marie. Your time has expired. Amy, give your hand up.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that we want to work with you to improve the EV charging station program by working to relocate the EV charging station at 125, 127 Marion Avenue to a more appropriate location that can better serve the needs of the entire community. As pertains to the budget, this location did not receive the PA DEP Driving PA Forward grant, and the majority of the infrastructure is being funded by the borough. Sabine Park is one of the few parks. On another note, Sabine Park is one of the few, Sabine Park is one of the few parks in Narberth, and we want to know if there's a plan for 201 Sabine and why the borough wants to develop the park before setting forth a plan. And sorry, I didn't say my name, Amy Smith, and my address is 127 Marion Avenue. Thank you and happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. And once again, if you'd like to look on the borough website, there's a lot of documentation about the borough's decision-making on 201 Sabine and some graphics about how the park might look under various scenarios. So I suggest that you take a look there. And council will probably be taking this issue up again in the new year. Thank you. Is there any further public comment? Anybody else online? I can't see the screen very well. Alan, does that look like it?
Yeah.
All right, speak up now or, okay, public comment is closed. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Someone like to make a motion?
I move to accept the consent agenda items A through D.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion of the consent agenda? All right, we are voting on consent agenda items A through D. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Can we get Barbara on screen because I can't actually see her? Is there a way to get her?
Barbara, could you just confirm that you voted yes?
Yeah, I voted yes, and I can unmute myself and do that going forward if that's easier for you.
I think that will help. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Regarding 2 of the items on the consent agenda items, 2 of which were resignations from the Planning Commission.
Mm-hmm.
I've received, I believe, 4 applications of interested people. How would you like me to handle the dissemination of that information to the rest of the council?
I would say put it into the media packet for the business meeting, the December business meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, so we do have an alternate on the Planning Commission, and I think the intention had always been that the alternate would fill the first seat that became available. We do have 3 other applicants for the other seat, and potentially we could appoint another alternate should we so choose. So,
and would you like candidates to be in attendance at the 21st?
I think the intention of the longer kind of application was that we would not need to do interviews for these positions. So I would like, if they haven't actually filled out the form that we've got online, I'm not sure if they've done that or if they've just sent an email.
I don't think I think it was just email, so I can.
So let's ask the three people who are not the alternate. I think Ms. Yannicone, if I'm pronouncing her name right. I'm comfortable with what she has, but the other three candidates, let's ask them to fill out the form that's online, and then we can put that into the packet. And that allows them to speak at a little more depth, and we won't need to have them interviewed. I mean, they're welcome to come if they want to know what happens, but we won't need to go back and forth with them.
Thank you.
Assuming everybody's on board with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as we have folks online, I think I'd mentioned it's my intention to resign from civil service after the annual meeting that we are required to have in the first week of January. So if you have friends or others who might be interested in the Civil Service Commission and they want to know what that entails, please have them reach out to me directly, and I'd be happy to discuss it with them. It's a fairly important position in the borough. We're responsible for hiring and promoting the police department, and we also have a sort of side role potential in discipline as well. So,
do you have an alternate right now or not?
We do not. We have not had an alternate for the past 2 years, I think. So that's.
Is there going to be a quorum for that committee if you leave?
That's why I'm staying for the January meeting, in part because we have to have a reorganization meeting, and so I have to be able to vote for the new chair. So you will need a third person going forward.
Has there been an alternate in the past?
Yes, I started as an alternate.
Okay.
So I moved up from alternate to commission member to chair.
So the point is to be like casting a wide enough net that we could get.
Yeah, it would be great if we could get an alternate too.
Okay.
I do think it's a good practice for us to accept alternates, just because life happens and people move.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you look at the progression with me, it was, somebody moved out of the borough, so I moved from alternate to commission member, and then somebody else moved out of the borough, and I moved from, so, or somebody could end up on council, so I think it's always good to have an alternate.
It makes sense.
I mean, in particular, members of the Police Advisory Commission might.
Yeah, actually, it's a good overlap.
Okay.
It's a similar topic area. Okay.
And is there any problem with overlapping?
I don't think so.
You can actually have a member of council be a part of the Civil Service Commission. So I don't think that there, personally, I'm hearing this, I don't think there's, I understand you want to resign, but might I suggest that you stay on until we get.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we have nothing going on except the reorg meeting, so I could not resign until we have the replacements in place. But you're right, technically, Cindy stayed on for a while.
Yeah.
I just think it's a better idea.
Yeah, but you never know if something's going to happen, so it probably.
I think I'd like to have the commission able to conduct business. It would be great if you could stay on a little while.
Yeah, and I was able to step down because we had an alternate.
Right. All right.
All right.
Gives you more incentive to.
And I think we will have a better sense of all of the open committee positions by the business meeting. There's other committees that will be losing members or having renewals. So expect a flurry of that at the business meeting. Anything else, Mr. Ross?
No, thank you.
Okay. Our only discussion item is the budget.
Well, thankfully, I don't have a 3-hour presentation planned for this evening. It's 2.5 hours long. Whittled it down. No, I don't have anything significant to discuss with council or the public or the mayor this evening. I just wanted to keep it on the agenda and, in the forefront since we're moving towards adoption of the final budget at our business meeting on the 21st. There have been no significant changes since the preliminary budget with one exception, and it's not a major change. Thanks to President Bush's eagle eye, we have updated the homestead exemption. I accounted for the homestead exemption after all of the discounts, and President Bush and I discussed it, and we moved it ahead of all of those things. So that added about $7,000 to the expected real estate revenue for 2024. So thanks for catching that, President Bush. And that's the only change that I've incorporated thus far. I've had a handful of emails and phone calls from residents, all of which have been at the end of the emails or phone calls have been positive. A lot of, just many people maybe not taking the time to dive into all of the details and be able to speak to residents who are concerned and be able to listen and discuss those details, and they feel a lot more confident. Yeah, nobody likes the 100% increase to trash, but that's out of our control.
So, has there been any additional news on, sort of year-end, balances or some of the one-time money coming through, or not really?
So we did get a notice that all of the grant information for the matching grant for the Elmwood property has been accepted. And so we're hoping to get that deposit by the end of the year. That's what I'm hoping, which is $550,000, which I would make a strong recommendation to council to strongly consider putting a large portion of that in your capital fund, since this budget, if you remember, did not include any transfer of general fund dollars into the capital fund. Given that we've got some pretty significant projects in the pipeline, one that's pressing, that's on the agenda later this evening, is the library roof project. That is a rather large number. So to answer your question, I believe we're still tracking on schedule to get well within the GFOA recommended 20%, 1.2 million general fund balance by the end of the year.
But I'm very happy to hear that, but was there any updates to, sort of the overall, forget about that, the regular general fund surpluses, or it's too early to?
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's one item, but I mean,
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, you're not going to know.
We're on track to have $1.2 million in reserves for the general fund by the end of the year.
Okay. You can't predict, it's hard to predict what the end year and balance is going to be, because
we have not, the borough historically has not done a really good job in getting, if you remember from my presentation, it's an accurate budget, not a precise budget.
Right.
A precise budget would enable us to really track month to month general fund balance. I'm hoping that we can continue to get better with that month to month, and that's a business processing.
So we'll know in January.
Yeah, we might know before that, maybe by the next meeting. I would have a pretty good number. The closer we get to December 31, the more accurate that number becomes.
I mean, I know some of it depends on what bills come in and which.
And, well, I've accounted for most of them, and especially, accounting for the major transfers from the general fund to other funds that have been budgeted. All of those major expenses have been accounted for. MMO payments, they've all been issued. I'm also happy to report that our EIT is tracking higher than the budgeted amount.
Even for this year?
For this year.
Wow.
Which is in line with the updated estimates that we received from Berkheimer that I discussed at the last meeting.
Right. So that 116 deficit is?
Well, you got to look at 2023, right?
Yeah.
You don't carry it over.
Yeah.
Yes, the deficit has gotten smaller because of the $7,000. It's just going to mean that we'll have a healthier cash fund balance at the end of the year. Don't get too excited. It's not like we're going to have a huge surplus. It's going to be right around the minimum GFOA recommended of 20%. I'm just really excited that it is tracking within that. It gives me confidence that Berkheimer's projections are solid projections. Yeah. And so that gives me confidence going into 2024. And we've got a whole month's worth of EIT to collect also. We are through the end of November. So we have a whole another month, and we should be within Berkheimer's range for 2023.
Yeah. Great.
Which is over the budgeted amount.
Great.
We are above 500,000.
Right, and the last time it was like 470.
Budgeted amount was 475.
Right.
And we hadn't booked many of the entries. I think we had it through October. Yeah. So we're finally getting to it. We're booking all of the entries, and we should have November still.
What do we budget for next year on EIT?
Well, next year's is just over $1 million because of the proposed 0.75.
Right.
And so we used Berkheimer's projection. their increased projection.
Right, okay, that's
Which
what I
we're
was
able
trying
to raise it a little bit. Yes.
Yeah, but there was another issue, like, the EIT didn't start right in January of
Right.
23.
Right. Well, that's why I was
So there was
asking
it was
whether we
only
made the adjustment based on this increase already.
So between getting a full year of it and the new rate, which will kick in after a month or so.
And Berkheimer made that point, that it's difficult for them to make really good projections because we haven't had EIT for that long, and so it's difficult for them to do accurate long-term projections. I don't have anything else.
I had one minor question. At this point, property taxes are delinquent if they haven't been paid. Do we ever get, like, are we 100% paid at this point, property taxes?
They're not, they're in the penalty phase.
They're in the
right?
penalty phase. Do we ever receive some dribbling in?
We do. It's
And-
not, that's all budgeted for.
Okay,
That's a really difficult thing to
Okay.
budget for because it depends on when, the taxpayers pay their bill. And so
Okay.
some of them never pay it and it goes into a lien and it becomes something else.
and do we follow up on that?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, we do.
Okay.
It becomes a legal action.
okay,
If it doesn't get paid within that year, the following year it then becomes a lien. That's when the solicitor gets involved.
okay,
And that becomes a different process than processing it through the tax collector.
okay. But we do actively follow up on
Yes.
that? Good.
I mean, this borough, like, people mainly pay their taxes. I mean, it's well over 95% of people
Yeah.
paying their taxes.
98%.
98%.
Pretty darn good.
So,
Pretty darn good.
Yeah.
But 2% is a few $1,000s and
Yes.
yeah, we get that money the following year, like he said, through the lien, so that
Okay.
it comes in like usually in the next year, yeah.
Well, when you have a lien, but you own part of their property, right? You can't
It's when the property
Sells.
sells.
So it's not gonna turn into
Often,
cash.
Right.
Well, oftentimes what happens is that it turns into them paying their bill.
Okay,
Well, either that or when they sell their house, you can't sell the house without settling the liens.
Yes.
right.
It won't clear the title, it won't clear the.
But
whatever.
it brings in a little bit probably, year over year. A few $1,000s?
You can look,
Yes.
so,
It's all budgeted for. Also, we can see it in the budget.
yeah, in the tax
Yeah,
collector's
yeah, yeah,
reports,
yeah.
so if you look during the business meeting packet at the tax collector's report, it's got how much is outstanding in the
Okay.
property tax, month by month, so you could see how much it is a small
Minimal.
amount.
Okay.
I mean, it's accounted for, but it's relatively small compared to everything else.
Somebody asked me a question, and I had no idea what the answer was. Somebody stopped me on the street about the EIT. How much does the homestead exception per household? How much is that worth?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So the homestead exemption for 2023, and if council chooses to pass the resolution for 2024, is the same amount. The amount that was used for 2023 is $20,500. That is for all of those properties who have signed up for the homestead exemption. It's not for all properties. You have to enroll in the program. For 2023, there were 912 properties that were enrolled. For 2024, as of last week, there were 934. It accounts, doing the math, it's $202.23 per homestead parcel.
It costs us
About $185,000 total, give or take 5,000.
Right, but you should also understand that if you sign up for the Lower Merion School District,
That's
the difference, and you automatically get this one.
Yeah, I believe so. Once you're signed up for theirs, which is a lot more money.
It's more money, that was the point. Yeah.
And most everybody who's eligible is signed up already because they're signed up for Lower Marions.
Yes.
But you have to own your house and it has to be your main residence. You can't claim it for more than one residence.
And that process is handled through the county. The borough doesn't have any role in that. You have to submit your application to Montgomery County and they control who is enrolled in it. And then we, as a body, say whether yes or no. If yes, pass the resolution, we forward that to the county and they account for it. And then it comes back to us in our tax process.
Any other questions for our manager? I just wanted to add that I took a look to see how we stand right now compared to the other boroughs in Montgomery County that have their own police force. I figured those are our peers, these small communities that have their own police. And in terms of millage, we are smack dab in the middle. We're just about an average millage. We are the only borough that does not have a 1% or higher EIT. Collegeville is at 1.4, Norristown is at 2.1, everybody else is at 1% for EIT.
How can they be above 1%?
Because
If you're
you did it
distressed.
before, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to do it. It's not easy. You have to be financially distressed and beg the state, or you have to be a home rule municipality. But it's not trivial. Let's put it that way.
There are a couple of exceptions, and those that aren't distressed, there is also a provision that you can add 0.125 for parks and open space. So open space acquisition.
And Fred, of those municipalities, how many give half of that EIT to their school district?
I would just clarify that they don't give it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which municipalities does the school district get half?
I didn't look into that.
I would make an educated guess, 98%.
Okay.
Yeah, the ones that are over 1, they get to keep everything that's over 1. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. There are a couple, I think maybe Pennsbury, there's a couple school districts that don't have an EIT, even though they could. It varies. but the point from a resident's point of view is you have to pay that 1% EIT, whether it's going to the borough or the school district. So we have a lower EIT than all the other boroughs.
Right.
And our millage is about in the middle. If we didn't have, if we had a 1% EIT and put it into the property tax, we'd be well down the list. We'd be among the lowest.
To your point, it's not as simple as to say how much goes to the school district, because the property taxes and the algorithm of how we pay for schools is through your property taxes, so you can't, or your property assessment, so you can't compare Norristown property assessments with Narberth property assessments, which then goes to fund the school, so it's not as easy as saying.
It's a good metric to hear though, because I think, to Fred's point, it is important to look at, so the residents understand why you looked at the police. And, police is such a high part of our budget that it does affect our taxability, so. Residents have to understand if we want to have our own police force, which I certainly do, there's a cost that goes along with it just because of the inefficiencies of having a smaller force.
There are some communities that don't have a police force. They rely on the state police, so you call the phone, maybe an hour later, the state police shows up. It is, there's no cost to the community for that financially, but there are other costs. So it's,
I would argue there's a lot of costs.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
So that's what I'm saying. These are the
Where you
boroughs
want
that
to
have
pay the
police.
cost.
I just want to make it clear why you were putting that out there.
Yeah, because I think those are our peers are the ones that that pay for a police force.
I didn't mean to make light of the giving. School districts take it.
Yes, I know exactly where it is.
I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, no, point taken.
All right, any other comments about the budget? As Matt said, we do have the agenda item for the homestead exemption coming up. It's action item 10B. All right, let's move on to the action items. 10A is roof reinforcement.
I move we approve to advertise the request for bid proposals for the roof reinforcement project at the library.
Okay.
Second.
All right.
So we have some news with that also, and we're asking for council to just authorize the bid process at this point. Our engineering professionals late in the day today recommended that we not move forward yet. They found a couple of things that they would like to update on the bid, but in the interest of moving the project forward, if we could get council to approve the bid process, pending any of the updates per the borough structural engineer and architect, so we can move that forward, would be appreciated.
Is it going to add significantly to the cost, what they have in mind?
No, it was just to make sure that the bid is put together correctly. There are a couple of things, the requirements to make it a streamlined process and hopefully make it eligible for some grants. I'm not saying that it will be, but making sure language is in it that would line up with grant applications.
I mean, do you think, so even if we put this out, we'd still be able to apply for grants afterwards? I mean, my sense was that the grant had to go first before the RFP went out.
I'm not going to answer one way or the other. I like to keep the window open.
Do you think it's possible there are some grants that this might work for?
I'm not promising anything.
It's all right. I mean, it's the grant criteria. I mean, they're
Yes.
more objective than whether we'll get the grant.
Yes.
So this would fit the criteria for some grants.
Because it's an emergency repair. And so how can you go for a grant application for an emergency repair? I would make the argument that this was an emergency repair that was identified that we needed to make ASAP. We don't have the luxury to wait for a grant application to come along and say, well, let's wait until the grant. So I would, personally, I would make that argument that, depending upon what the grant structure is, that we could make a relatively strong case. I don't know, I don't have any identified yet, don't read into this. I'm just saying, I would like this bid process to be as open to any grant requirements as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Arguably, structural repairs don't improve with time.
Right. And we don't anticipate any changes to the plan. This is just regarding the bid structure and the bid timing. So it's nothing having to do with any of the plans that were approved. And this is my recommendation is that this is paid out of the capital fund, and I believe we have just maybe enough to pay for it. Hence, come full circle, the $550,000 grant reimbursement that we're getting, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, would be a great shot in the arm for us to fund our capital fund.
Yeah.
So could you speak a little bit to, I guess, a development I heard recently that about the grant that we applied for capital repairs to the borough-owned buildings? The local share, sorry.
Yes. I am confident that we will be able to get the grant money allocated for the HVAC repair for this building. I've been in coordination with the grant administrator and in coordination with the borough's engineer, who were the project manager for that project, and have asked them to help me provide some of the required grant documentation. So that is underway. I'm hoping that we can get everything moving for that with the information that I need from the engineer by the end of this year. If not the end of this year, January of next year. There's just specific documents that I need since the borough's engineer did the entire process. They did the bid documents, they did the bid opening, and so I don't have access to any of those things. And so they're working on those documents right now. As soon as I get them, I'll move forward with the reimbursement requests.
So therefore, I mean, the other plan was if that wasn't going to work out, to apply for that for the library repair. But it'd be better to do it for the...
Yes.
Because it's already spent, so
yes.
We could, in terms of cash flow, it would be better just to collect
yes.
the money.
Yes.
But is there more money, this would use up that grant, if we got this reimbursement?
Yes. I believe the costs that we have incurred will exceed the grant amount.
But we still have the loan proceeds.
Yes, and so when I say that we have the money in the capital fund to pay for the roof, it would mean drawing down on the building debt that we have, which we're accounting for, that we're already paying the interest on. So we do have that.
Okay, so now I'm a little confused because there's the money we're getting for Elmwood, the Elmwood grant.
Yep.
There's the balance in the loan.
Yes.
And then there's this money that's gonna, the local share.
Yes.
So
I'm saying
with all those combined, it's just barely covering.
No.
Okay, that's what I'm.
No, I'm saying if we didn't get any grant money, we would barely cover it. Now that we're getting grant money,
meaning the local share.
Local share and Elmwood.
Oh, so it's not
No.
You're just saying, like, we could take this to bid without any of these things that are
Without the
like,
grant money.
that are not 100%, but they're 95%.
Yes.
Okay.
When it comes to finance, I tend to be
No, okay, well, I just
and I like to
wanna,
have the money in the bank.
no, I just wanna
So I
be,
said if we bid it today and we had to build it today, using the cash that we had
Right.
available today, we'd barely be able to pay for it out of the capital fund.
right, I completely appreciate you're not spending money that we don't yet have. That's like a good thing for someone in your position to do. I'm just trying to, understand like what the best or likely case options are so that we could potentially fund other capital projects or pay off loans.
Likely case, well, can I talk a little bit about the capital fund and so forth?
Go.
So I have, in the past couple of weeks, have started developing a capital plan. My approach to capital planning is to start at the staff level because staff knows all of the capital projects that need addressing. They're the ones that are the boots on the ground. My philosophy is to grow it from the staff level first and then bring it to the infrastructure committee to say, look, these are the things that we've identified, and then add any things that council members might want to also attribute to the plan. Part of that, the nuts and bolts of it, or the foundation of it, is what I call a master inventory list. That master inventory list is a living, breathing thing. That is the laundry list of all known capital projects. That's the thing that staff needs to look at and monitor almost on a monthly basis. Because when you develop a capital plan, it's a snapshot in time. Whatever you can think of at that time. Maybe a month goes by and you remember, oh, I forgot to put insert project name here. Oh, I just forgot about it. So if that's a living, breathing document that staff is intimately interacting with, I hope, on a monthly basis, if not quarterly basis, that becomes the basis for your capital plan. That inventory list is a list of all things based upon department, based upon what it is, if it's sewer, if it's streets, if it's parks, if it's building infrastructure, the description, an expected low estimate cost and an expected high estimate cost, and a priority. High, medium, low, low. And that priority is what we all then discuss. Say, what are those priorities? When you say this is a high priority, then your capital plan becomes, okay, for the next 5 years, let's focus on those high priority as agreed upon, as voted on with that capital plan. Remember, a capital plan is not a funding document. It's a planning document. You all agree on that. Here are the high priority projects for the next 5 years. Then the capital plan is take those over the 5 years, take those high priority projects and put them in a funding mechanism that, look, that we're going to have to invest X amount of dollars for the next 5 years just to get these high priority items. So I've begun developing that with staff, and we've got a pretty good list so far that I'm excited to start sharing with the infrastructure committee.
Right, so Fred, one of the things that council's gonna have to do after infrastructure looks at this list is make some decisions about how many of those projects to do versus paying down debt service. Because, I mean, a lot, that money's, the Elmwood, like, for example, was a loan. Well, we could turn it into, we could turn it into a loan that funds capital projects, or we could pay off some of the debt. So that's going to be a trade-off.
Yeah, but to your point though, it's a capital plan, but it also serves, or should serve, I would argue, it's kind of like a social contract amongst council, is to say, this is what we agreed upon as a body, and this is what we are going to stay committed to being focused on, because it is so easy.
Well, and I like the 5-year timeline because that can cut across councils. I mean,
yes,
it makes a lot of sense to have that long-term plan rather than change course each year.
And as you've heard me say previously, the timing of it, I like to have that at the beginning of the year, January to June, July. You go into capital planning, and then council reviews and votes on a capital plan come July, August, midsummer, And then that feeds into the budget making, because the budget is the funding document. And if you can get those two documents to do this, that makes your lives that much easier and easier to manage over time.
So I'm gonna guess like, my final question on this topic is, how do people feel about, let's say we get these bids back on the library project, like, call it like, early January. Do we feel as though we could proceed with that project, kind of without seeing the whole capital budget, or we want to look at it in context? Given that, it's like, it's a structural issue.
I would think if we're putting it out for bid, we are saying we're gonna do this now. I think
And my recommendation is to move forward with that project.
I mean, that's more like an emergent need rather
Well, I
than
just
a
wanted-
long-term capital
I just
project.
wanted to-
Yeah, much like the sewer repairs on Haverford, this is something that came up, and even though it's not really on a plan per se, we gotta fix it.
No, well, that just gives us some time to do the rest of the capital
Right.
budget
So
and
my
not hold
my
this.
opinion is if we vote tonight to put this out for RFP, we are saying as a council, we're gonna do this, now. So that's my understanding.
And hats off to Jeff Eldon, who was a solid plan B to bridge us to when it's.
Well, that's an emergency plan to clean the snow off the roof.
Right, but still.
I'm happy he did it.
Yeah.
I told you that from the minute he said it, but nonetheless.
All right. I do want to come back to one of Ira's points earlier, which was that our thinking had been that if for some reason we did not get the local share grant for the air conditioning, we would try to apply to this project. So I want to make sure that that option is there.
Hence
If it looks
why
like-
we, the engineer said, hey, pump the brakes a minute, let's make sure that.
Just as long as that's in your mind, it's something as a.
Oh, I see. So we're gonna make sure that it remains how
Yes.
because otherwise, we've got this like grant that we can't.
Call me a planner type.
All right, so.
I missed that
we have
that nuance. But
Yeah,
I got it.
that makes a lot of sense.
Any more questions on the roof reinforcement for the library? And just to community members who might be hearing about this, we've talked about it in council, but the library is perfectly safe right now. However, in the case of heavy snowfall, there could be complications, and we want to make sure that we avoid any problems for the roof. So these are to shore up the roof in case of very heavy snowfall, which hasn't been the case for the last few years, but who knows when it might hit. Any other discussion? All right, we're voting to advertise a request for bid proposals for the library roof reinforcement. All those in favor?
Aye, Fred.
Thank you. Any opposed? All right, it is unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to 10B, which is the homestead exemption.
I move we adopt resolution 2023-12 to establish a homestead and farmstead exclusion in the amount of $20,500 for eligible properties for fiscal year 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
We already discussed what this is going to do. This is property tax abatement for just over $200 for people who own their own property in the borough. Any further? And this is the same amount that we had in place last year. Any other?
Just to be clear, that $20,500 isn't what everybody gets.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's why I asked the question before.
That reduces the effective amount of your assessment by $20,500.
Yeah.
Which is then
Only for those
multiplied
that
by.
are enrolled. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
If you are enrolled.
Or about to
We recommend that you enroll
So
yourself.
there was the 200 was an average.
200.
$202.60.
It actually is the exact amount,
Because it's
as long as your
by
property
million.
is.
20,500 times
I got it.
9.865
I
mils.
got it.
Yeah, so that's the exact amount.
Or you don't have to enroll and let the borough keep the money. If you'd like to make a $212 donation to the borough, effectively.
Any other discussion? All right, we are voting for resolution 2023-12 about homestead and farmstead exclusion. All those in favor?
Aye, Fred.
Any opposed? We're voting for tax relief. All right. Let's move on to committee reports. Infrastructure, do you have a report?
We did not meet, and I've got a question out about whether we're going to meet in December, but we'll see, because it's scheduled for the day after Christmas, so I'm guessing that would be a no. So.
I won't be here that
Two of
day,
you
so.
going to be in the room? Yeah.
I'm not gonna be here.
No, it's fine, because just after what we just did,
Yeah, all right.
It's
So
okay.
it sounds like we're gonna cancel the infrastructure meeting for the 26th, so.
But it's okay, then we can discuss the capital budget, you know. in
We'll
January.
need to announce the cancellation.
Yeah.
So,
Wait till
Alan's all
council
right.
members anyway.
Well, I don't disagree. That's why I was catching the fine print in the library. I didn't want to.
F&A, you would have been at the business
Yeah,
meeting.
the budget, yeah.
Okay, public health and safety.
So we did not meet in November, but we are meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Okay. All right, any announcements for the good of council?
Just reminding folks about the night shops,
That starts at.
night market, 6 to 9. 6 to 9.
Music at 7. Is anybody else provide, so we should be there providing music around 7. Feel free to carol along.
There will be a little ceremony passing the torch from Rick Nichols as our traditional Scrooge to Pat Daly, so at 6:30 precise. So I would encourage everybody to come and say thank you for the years of joy he's given us. So.
I have something that I'd like to discuss with council.
Okay.
Staff met with representatives of JP Mascara this past week to do our trash coordination meeting. And this was not my first trash coordination meeting. I have to say that I was impressed. I thought it went really well, and the things that they were communicating to staff were a lot more proactive than any of the previous meetings that I've been a part of. And I'm hopeful that they will be able to live up to their standards. One of the things, just to show you as an example, they came proactive to discuss our collection schedule. And they are making a recommendation that we move our trash collection away from Fridays. They said that's a really difficult thing to do. And they made a suggestion of just keeping everything else the same, but moving trash to Tuesdays. That way, it's midweek. They can come and they can address any missed collections before the weekend. And so that was their recommendation. Staff was fully on board, and I wanted to discuss that and bring it before council to get your feedback on that.
I don't have any objection to that point.
We tried to get Republic not to do Friday, by the way, for that exact reason.
It actually makes a lot of
I've heard,
sense.
ordinarily, I don't like changing things, but I've heard so many complaints about people who can't get their trash picked up on after Friday.
Right.
Especially holiday
Holidays.
weeks.
That's.
So I think it makes a lot of sense.
So we need to do a big publicity push if we.
You are reading my mind.
Yeah.
And so here's the other thing that was really impressive. They take care of all of the communication.
Oh,
They
At their
are already,
cost?
yes.
Well,
Part of it.
how so?
They have a list of addresses, and they put together a mailer that goes out.
Oh, did they do US mail?
Yes, they do. US mail, and they will forward it to us. We can blast it on email, on
We
website.
should, should do a social media blast.
Absolutely. And so they're already in the process. They're just looking for, they want to get this thing moving. And so I asked them to wait until I heard back from council. We had a reservation, he needed it Tuesday.
That's good.
They have our logo, they have everything ready to go. They said at the meeting that they usually put it out at the end of the year, and most people throw it away because they think it's junk mail. So then they'll usually follow it up again in the new year with another one just to say, hey, FYI. And so that was one thing that I was really impressed with, that we were telling them on all of the borough's troubles with trash, and they're like, no, we take care of all that. No, you should not be doing that. No, we will take care of that. So I'm really excited.
Great.
They also have a local call number. It doesn't go to a nationwide call center anymore.
Right.
And the person that is in charge of our contract has been with the company for like 20-some years. And I asked, so you're not gonna move on to another position in 6 months like we have had? He's like, no, you're on my contract. So
I would say the only thing about Tuesday, just because I walk down Haverford, Lower Marion picks up on Tuesday too. So they might, on the edges where we're coordinating with Lower Marion, they might want to think about, I don't know if they have that flexibility, talk to them and make sure we don't have those trucks hitting those roads and blocking those roads at the same time as one's going up and one's going down.
They can play chicken.
I know.
Well,
Our guys.
That's kind of fun, yeah.
The word for that is deconfliction.
Just because
They
I
have
only,
like a hotline.
I only know my own schedule, sadly. So right now we're Thursday and Friday, so we'll become Tuesday and Thursday.
Yes.
But who's on Wednesday?
Wednesday is the leaf that goes.
It's leaf.
Oh, I see, so it's,
Leaf yard.
okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Got it.
Perfect.
The
Okay.
only thing changing is trash.
The mailer, are they including like a recycling
Yes.
guide?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're, as you may recall, their recycling
It's much better.
rules
Yeah.
include
Yeah.
the
Right.
plastic bags.
Everything.
The flexible.
Yeah.
And they really highlight their recycling. And so they want to put that out as much as they can.
Yeah.
We could do the kiosks and the civic association in the past really helped get out the word with the recycling. So we could also leverage our own.
Well, let's see what they do first. Let them, you know,
Well, you know,
if we have any issues, we can ask this.
well, you know, there's another big change coming to this area next year, early next year. And the Lower Merion plastic bags thing, I think kicks in.
Yeah, it's January 1st.
Yep.
January 1st.
Giant, imagine all the
No, I
plastic
know.
bags are giant.
Seriously.
Just saying.
And
Yeah.
Wawa.
Acme.
Acme.
So that phone number, so if residents miss their pickup, they'll be able to get through to Mascara directly.
Person. Yes.
To like just business hours, or is that person there?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Not sure.
But as long as they can get through during business hours, that will be a big improvement over the current situation, so.
Yeah, I feel like the borough was playing, we were caught in the middle of a lot of miscollections, and we even came up with our own reporting form for miscollections. They said, forget all that, we'll take care of it. They're not a
that's what they
national
kept saying.
company. They're not like Republic, that, like you said, has a call center, so you're not gonna sit on hold forever to get it through to somebody.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Right.
So we were encouraged.
I gave up on the miscollections, quite frankly. I mean, it never seemed to
Well,
work.
our public works crew, Jeff he was saying at this meeting that he would assign a public works crew member to follow the trash truck. Because it's easier for us to identify, hey, yep, you missed one, yep, you missed one.
Wow. So all that staff time that
Yes.
now can be recouped.
Yeah.
On the
Sure.
private roads, it was a regular occurrence.
So how flexible do you think they're gonna be initially on people who are putting out like more cans? Because I think that rule changed, right? About how many gallons you can have out? Or
I'm
not?
not sure if it changed. I think it was always 196.
Oh, okay, so, oh, that's not a change.
I mean, it was 19, it was like a little larger. I think it was a little more generous.
Yeah.
Now or before?
Now,
Oh,
going
okay.
forward.
Then I misunderstood then.
Well, no, it limits it. I don't think there was a limit before
Yeah.
in the previous ordinance. So it limits the volume to 96 gallons per
Well, if we could just get a clarification from them on I think I'm gonna leave it. I doubt it, but.
No, 96
Do you wanna
is
ask
like a huge amount.
That's a lot of
That's
trash.
I mean, it's much bigger than a regular trash can.
Okay, so maybe it's not an issue.
I don't think it is.
We don't want to encourage people to put out more than 96, but from my experience, Mascara will take what's there.
That's
Yes.
what I was getting.
And we did allow,
That was my
we still have
question.
one bulk item along with it, so, that doesn't count toward your 96. So if you
I
have
just don't want
something
to get a bunch of phone calls saying
Share
they only took one can,
Well, I mean, if you're a contractor and you go to the house and put out like 20 bags, well,
No,
like that, in that case, yeah.
I
And
get
I don't recall, was our traditional junk week included in this?
It is,
Okay,
yes.
good.
Junk week's in.
People like that.
We call it the spring.
Spring clean.
Shark Week.
All right.
I call it.
Okay, we're good.
Any further? Okay, so
Fred, could I add something?
Go ahead.
So listening to all this, and I'm really hopeful, like Matt is, that this is going to work out so well. And so if it does, and it's ending up freeing up a lot of our current staff time, and it's getting people better service, even though none of us like the increase in the trash rate. I don't, I'm sure nobody does. If we are getting more than what we've been getting before, at least where we can see, oh, there's some value in paying some extra. So I feel less uncomfortable about our having to raise the trash fees so much if we're going to get better service and also allow our staff to work on other things instead of trash issues. So I think that I'm very hopeful, and I'm glad to hear that that Matt and the staff are feeling that way. So
Yeah.
I certainly hope we're getting the platinum service.
Yeah, well, and we are also getting the added value of the methane capture landfill, which was the recommendation of the EAC, and it's very hard to find that as a service through a national hauler. So we're getting a green benefit. It's something we're paying for.
And I hope that's on their promotion. They should know their audience. This is a community that's going to want to know that information.
Yeah, you let them know that tout their green credentials when they send out messages to folks.
So good.
Okay, any other announcements? We will have an executive session after this meeting to discuss a personnel matter relating to the borough manager position and a potential legal matter. I think that's it for exec session. We will not return to session afterwards. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, there's a second. All right, let's vote to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye, Fred.
Opposed? Okay.
Oh, look at that.
All right, we're adjourned. Let's take 2 minutes here.
Right.
Thank you, guys.